Ballet was born in the courts of power, a strange realization to any admirer of this poetic art form. However, long before it became an art of elegance and virtuosity, ballet was a language of hierarchy, a way for rulers to display order through the human body. The geometry of the performance was a reflection of how a society understood beauty and, through it, control and authority. Its origins lie in the Italian Renaissance courts of the 15th century, where dance was part of diplomacy and celebration. The early royal balls were elaborate spectacles, part theater, part ceremony. They were used by noble families to display refinement and education. Aristocrats learned coordinated movements to embody grace as a sign of breeding. It had very little to do with artistic expression. Dancing well was proof of proper upbringing, and the floor of the court was a social map. The word balletto itself first appeared in Italy in the 1400s. It is a diminutive from the verb ballare, to dance. It described choreographed performances at weddings and royal festivities. Dancers were courtiers, not professionals, and every gesture in the choreography was symbolic. Each bow and its measured step were a declaration of social order. When Catherine de' Medici married the French King Henry II in 1533, she carried the sculpture with her to France. There, ballet found fertile ground. Under her patronage, dance became an instrument of statecraft. The famous Ballet Comique de la Reine of 1581 is often cited as the first true ballet performance. It is a 6-hour spectacle combining music, poetry, myth, and complex floor patterns. It was an allegory of harmony restored through divine order, staged to impress foreign dignitaries and consolidate royal power. The dancers' synchronized formations mirrored the geometrical ideas of the cosmos and the court. The body of every dancer was in its proper place, and every gesture reaffirmed hierarchy. From that moment, ballet became inseparable from the politics. It turned movement into a visible form of ideology. By the 17th century, ballet had become central to the French monarchy's image, reaching its pinnacle under Louis XIV, the Sun King. Louis himself did not just patronize the art, but was a performer. At 14, he danced at the Sun in Le Ballet de la Nuit, dressed in gold, surrounded by courtiers orbiting him like planets. The whole spectacle was propaganda made flesh. Through dance, Louis turned his own body into a living symbol of absolute monarchy. In 1661, Louis founded the Académie Royale de Danse, the first institution to formalize dance technique. Movement became systematized, codified into rules and positions. The 5 classical foot positions still used in ballet today were established then to discipline and harmonize the dancer's posture. They serve to align the body with ideals of symmetry. Ballet became a science of the body. To participate in it meant to submit to a structure, the turned-out legs, the elongated spine, the alignment of limbs within strict geometry. Every deviation from this ideal was a flaw. There was no place for interpretation. The ballet of the spirit was not yet what we recognize on modern stages today. It was performed in palace halls with dancers facing the king rather than the audience. Every turn and gesture was directed towards those possessing power. To dance well was to show submission to form. In this way, the virtues of a functioning monarchy were made visible through motion. The discipline was physical and moral at once. Dancers trained their bodies to become instruments of order, subservient to rules that transcended individuality. The posture of ballet reflected the Enlightenment ideal of reason over impulse and form over chaos. The upright body was the civilized body. When ballet eventually moved from court to stage in the 18th century, it experienced a huge ideological shift. As the stage replaced the palace, the hierarchy remained, only now it was artistic. Choreographers became architects of human form, designing patterns of movement that reflected the ideals of their age. With enlightenment came a new sense of the individual. The dancer became not just a figure in the royal tableau. A new kind of human have emerged, a performer with expressive potential. Choreographers like Jean-Georges Navarre began calling for ballet d'action. He proposed to tell stories through movement, emotion, and character, rather than spectacle alone. Yet, even the ballet expanded emotionally, its structure remained strict. Romanticism brought emotion into the form, but within the same framework of control. In works like La Sylphide or Giselle, the ballerina became the center of an ethereal universe, fragile, pure, and unreachable. Her body, suspended on the tips of her toes, symbolized transcendence. Yet, that transcendence was built on extreme discipline. The illusion of weightlessness demanded constant labor. The many hours of repetition and bleeding toes were hidden behind the stage mask. The ballet dancer was the perfect citizen of an idealized world. Measured, light, rational, and controlled creature that represented the unreachable ideal. Ballet's language, its gestures, hierarchies, its obsession with symmetry mirrored the values of the society that produced it. It was the art of refinement, of mastering the body to conceal effort. The dancer was expected to vanish behind perfection, to erase the traces of struggle. The individuality of the ideal performer was invisible inside the form. In the 19th century, as industrialization transformed Europe, ballet entered a new phase. The Romantic era brought ethereal heroines and supernatural themes. The pointe-shoe developed in this period allowed female dancers to appear even more weightless, detached from the earth. The female body became the image of transcendence, while the male body, once central in the court ballets, receded into the background. Ballet mirrored the values of the time, the longing for escape from an increasingly mechanized world. By the late 90s and early 20th centuries, ballet spread far beyond France. Russia became its new epicenter. Under the Imperial Ballet in St. Petersburg, artists like Marius Petipa and composers like Tchaikovsky transformed it into a national art form. Works like Swan Lake, The Sleeping Beauty, and The Nutcracker set new standards for precision and spectacle. The imperial system trained dancers an instrument of visual perfection. Every gesture was codified. Every transition rehearsed to the smallest detail, and even though the political systems changed, the discipline of ballet continued to be a mirror of the state's own ideal. The Imperial Ballet School in St. Petersburg, founded in 1738, trained children from as young as 8 in relentless regimens. The training was almost monastic. Students lived under strict supervision, their diet, sleep, and posture monitored day and night. The Russian system understood ballet as more than art. For them, it was a method of forming character. The extreme endurance of the dancers and physical perfection became a metaphor for national pride. After the Russian Revolution of 1917, ballet split along ideological lines. The Bolsheviks initially condemned it as aristocratic excess, but soon realized its propaganda value. Soviet choreographers adapted its precision for revolutionary themes. Workers and soldiers replaced princesses and nymphs. Meanwhile, emigres like Sergei Diaghilev carried ballet westward, founding the Ballet Russe, which brought modernism to the stage. There, ballet began to merge with abstraction and new forms of music, yet its foundation remained the same. The body as an object to be shaped into a specific architecture, the dancer an instrument of a vision larger than themselves. In the 20th century, ballet became global, yet the same paradox persisted. It promised transcendence through control, beauty through constraint. The body was both liberated and bound, freed from gravity, but imprisoned by form. If we step back, we can see that ballet tells a story far larger than art. It tells the story of Western civilization's relationship to the body. its desire to order it, elevate it, and perfect it. Where ancient ritual once sought unity between body and spirit, ballet sought harmony between body and an idea. It turned movement into a language of refinement and discipline. Over centuries, it had mirrored the societies that upheld it. In royal courts, it displayed hierarchy. In theaters, it embodied national identity. In modern studios, it became the pursuit of aesthetic perfection. Every plie, every rotation, every silent gesture is a part of a lineage that began as political choreography and evolved into art. The same precision that once reflected the will of kings now expresses human resilience and creates its own category of beauty, bound to extreme discipline and geometry. The body in ballet is forced into an idea of perfection, and the cost of that perfection is visible. Behind every graceful arabesque is a history of control of the body driven by external imposition. Ballet is the dream of the body made obedient, and through this obedience, sublime.